Okay, what we're going to talk about here is the controversial topic of how the legal industry destroyed Britain. Uh, very simply, I might add. Um, Firstly, you got to get your head straight about what lawyers are. Lawyers are mercenaries. Okay, they are paid to fight. They don't care who they fight or what the result is. They just care about the bag of gold at the end of it. What you have to understand is that lawyers are part of the liberal elite, but they are a very powerful, weaponized frontline, gang of shock troops of the liberal elite. So, where did it all go wrong? Well, you have to go back to, I think, the 1960s, where most of our educational establishments, particularly the higher education, was penetrated by out-and-out communists. They dressed it all up, calling themselves, liberals and whatever, but they're really communist. It's just communism. Communists that had abandoned the notion of a violent revolution to get their ways, because most of them were soft middle class, well-to-do gentry, and it was a bit distasteful to take gunfire from the imperialist resistors. Anyway, we move on. So the legal industry is controlled by its academic institutions. These are all shifted to the left. And what you have to understand is that the current rulers and the players within the legal industry at the moment, they were all largely the product of the 90s and early 2000s Blairite university establishment. So that's the mentality of the groupthink. It's it's from the days of the Spice Girls. All right. If you know who the Spice Girls are, look it up. But it's that degree of out of touchness that they are. So we know about activist judges, but we also have the problem of activist lawyers. And the other thing, of course, is that there really isn't enough work in the legal industry to justify the amount of lawyers that there are. So this is why they set up their own new private industries, and these are things like working for all those quangos. And the quangos, of course, are dependent on state payment, so they're naturally going to pursue policies that further the operations and size and power of the state, because that guarantees their money. And this, of course, is crystallized in the powerful lobbying actions of the Law Society, which writes a lot of legislation and then tries to get this legislation passed through, often justifying it, saying that, our lawyers are telling us this is a serious problem on the front lines. You must draft this new bill. And it's really just about making lawyers' lives easier and about making them more money. That is the purpose of the Law Society. Okay? What else have I got in my notes? Yeah, and lawyers acting as advisors, they are always going to tell power what power wants to hear. We saw this perfectly with Brexit. The amount of disinfo that lawyers who should know better were telling people about the Brexit process was unbelievable. I mean, I remember some person who was legally trained telling me that, with a straight face, that the matter of the UK leaving the EU could only be decided by the ECJ, the EU's court. I mean, that is legal and constitutional nonsense. The UK does not need the permission of a foreign court to interpret its own legislation or create legislation. But they said it. That's one of many other things lawyers told fibs about during the Brexit process. But we digress. The other thing, back to the academic thing. The idea is that the British legal system is problematic with the larger agenda of EU submission, of UK submission into the EU. Our common law legal system is an anomaly in the continent. Most of the continent adheres to various forms of Neo-Roman law. The two main strains are the Prussian Code and the Napoleonic Code. I can't go with the differences between the common law tradition and the Roman tradition, but it's very different. And this is one of the problems I've said in my other video about why the Human Rights Act doesn't work, is that the Human Rights Act was not designed for a common law jurisdiction. But yeah, see that video for it. So, we've got activist left-wing lawyers, and they just follow the money. And the other thing we have to be mindful of is that the most senior judges, well, not even senior judges, but most major legal firms, their licenses and their ability to practice business are all dependent upon the Cabinet Office, because the Cabinet Office controls the business policy, so they directly or indirectly answer to the high bureaucracy. 90% of the problems in this country stem from the Cabinet Office. That is the real government. Blair represented the final transfer of power away from the Prime Minister and the Cabinet as the executive to the Cabinet Secretary, who now is father of policy. But anyway. So to sum up, we've got a leftist radicalized academic community which has warped the study of law, desperately trying to align it to the larger plans of the EU. Of course, the EU is nothing more than a German client organisation. They're a product of the glory days of Blairism, so they're still stuck in that rut. There isn't enough work for them, so they've created their own businesses through the Quangos, and the Quangos serve the state, so it's a self-perpetuating cycle. You could argue the whole human rights industry is a bloated cash cow for lawyers. That's fairly evident. And their main horse in the race is the Law Society, which lobbies for legislation to be made, which is pro-legal industry, not pro-UK. And they inadvertently answer to the Cabinet Office. So that's the diagnosis of the problem. Like, comment, subscribe, share this, all the YouTube stuff. Thanks.